Hello! According to this article I found, vampires have been sexy since 1819, which means that the concept of a blood-sucking predator with supernatural abilities that wants literally nothing other than to suck all of your life fluid from you has been getting people all horned up for 205 years. Humans are fucking weird. And this article was posted at 4 in the morning, so I have reason to believe that this is just vampire propaganda. But yes, we're finally at the spookiest time of the year, my favorite time of the year, Halloween, which is also my birthday. And we're doing something that I probably should have done a long time ago. We're finally talking about Lost Boys 3: The Thirst. The unwanted sequel to the unwanted sequel of Lost Boys 2, which in itself is an unwanted sequel of The Lost Boys, which is one of my favorite films and a Halloween tradition. And if you were psychopathic enough and filled with enough self-hatred to actually decide to watch this movie, you would immediately notice that the runtime is a bit short. They couldn't even get this movie to feature length. And that's actually one of the reasons why it took me so long to actually come back and talk about this movie. My Lost Boys 2 video was actually the first ever video I made about any film, which is why it's ridiculously long, not edited as well, and I looked like that. And when I actually tried to make a video about Lost Boys 3, I found that I didn't really have much to talk about, and then I honestly kind of forgot about it. But we're 2 years older now. Holy shit, we're 2 years older now. And I must admit, this film did surprise me, and I'm glad I came back to it. So now it's finally time to talk about Lost Boys 3: The Thirst. We open 5 years before the events of the rest of the movie, and I just have to assume it was a bit before the second movie because they never really explain the timeline properly. It's Lost Boys 3. Did you expect them to care? But we are in Washington, D.C., the other murder capital of the world, which is some very subtle political messaging there. And it's actually completely wrong because Washington, D.C. is actually the 8th highest murder capital in the US, let alone the world. I can't believe that my straight-to-video vampire movie from a failed franchise would lie to me like that. But I think you're actually gonna love this opening.
As soon as you feed, Senator, you won't need these anymore.
Holy shit! It's the attack of Grandpa Munster!
Why would a vampire need dentures? I thought they had crazy fast healing abilities. I guess he hasn't eaten in a while, but how? If you're a senator, it would be so easy to survive as a vampire. Oh yeah, and Alan's back. The other frog brother from the first movie who wasn't in the second movie. But they repel the vampires that literally have super speed by pointing a crossbow at them. They could definitely punch a hole through Corey Feldman's face before his brain even has the opportunity to process that they've moved. Stop giving villains any kind of super speed because it just means that they should immediately win any fight that they get into. But they save the congressman that was about to get eaten, and then this happens.
Alan!
Okay, so a lot of stupid shit just happened in a very short amount of time. 1. Why would the vampire ever choose to turn Alan? It's so much more effort to restrain him, cut your hand, force him to drink your own blood, than it would ever be to just bite his neck really hard. It's like running into a wild bear, and instead of it just eating you, it sits you down and forces you to act like a bear for the rest of your life, which is an offer that I'm much more interested in. 2. We know that unaliving a vampire that has turned somebody else into a vampire completely frees them of the vampiric curse, something that Edgar explained to everybody in the first movie, and yet he decided to just scare him off, despite being covered in weapons designed specifically to kill vampires, so he could have just fixed this whole issue straight away. And then he just lets Alan escape. 3. He turned almost immediately, which by the rules of this universe is impossible, because it's been previously established that it takes a while to fully turn vampire. 4. How did they even get into the Capitol building to carry out this mission anyway? 5. If you were a UFO, what noise do you think you'd make? Because I think I'd make more of a But now we're back in the present where Edgar has to sell all of his comic books in order to try and pay his rent. But not before a 2-minute intro sequence that wants to be Blade so bad. Just do the blood sprinklers, that shit was cool. We then see that we are in San Cazador, California, where we learn that people keep mysteriously going missing alongside an extra that stares directly into the camera. You literally had one job, and as Edgar is selling his comic books, we're introduced to Zoe, a proud geek who, just like every other woman in this movie for some reason, is really into Edgar Frog. Would you marry someone with the surname Frog? I feel like that would be a really awkward conversation. Could you make me the happiest frog in the world and be my wife? Oh my god, I wouldn't have to become a frog too, right? No, I guess not. Oh, thank Christ. Like, I would rather kill myself than be known as the frog lady. I mean, we're also introduced to Johnny Trash, and yes, that's the character's real name. And he's a celebrity blogger that's in town to promote an X party, which is an underground rave ran by DJ X, which will obviously come up later. But first, I want to show you guys this clip.
I'm disconnected.
Did you notice anything weird about that song? Did any voices sound familiar at all? Well, it should, because that's actually one of the songs from Corey Feldman's band in this movie. How did they go from an oiled up ponytail god playing saxophone tunes to this?
Turn on my computer. Startup system run. Was not shut down properly.
And this is the perfect segue into talking about Corey Feldman's music career, so we might as well do that. Yes, Corey Feldman has been trying to get a music career going for a while now, which is fair enough. The only issue is that he's terrible at singing, songwriting, music production, mixing, mastering, and has zero stage presence. Plus the fact that he can't do anything normal.
Hit the club. Tell him.
Poor women, man. I mean, like, what are they actually playing? This song contains none of those instruments. The girl on the decks is probably the only one doing anything, and she was just pressing play on the MP3. But it's okay, because surely he has to be amazing at playing instruments. Oh my god, I wish I was as delusional as this guy. Imagine genuinely believing that you're a god at something, despite the entire world telling you to stop. He's also always shouting at his band and hitting himself in the face. But back to the movie. We then meet conventionally attractive British author lady who writes smut novels about vampires because of course she does. And she's come to see Edgar because her brother Peter has been kidnapped by DJ X during one of the X raves.
He started following around this guy, DJ X. He throws his events called X parties. And at these raves, they're handing out this new designer drug. It's called the Thirst.
It's vampire blood.
So the vampires are throwing raves in order to trick people into taking a new drug called the Thirst, which is actually vampire blood, so they're cultivating a gigantic worldwide vampire army. That's actually kind of a cool idea. It reminds me a lot of Black Roses, which is about a heavy metal band that lures in teenagers through the power of rock and roll, only to turn them into weird puppet zombies through the power of rock and roll. There's probably a much better example of another time this premise was done, but I just can't think of it right now, so let me know in the comments. But this mission has higher stakes than we originally thought.
All of my research suggests that the Thirst is made from the blood of the head vampire.
The head vampire.
The blood-sucking alpha.
The alpha.
From the Greek root, meaning the first. The original.
That's right, in this movie they take on the god of all vampires, and I'm sure it'll be just as cool as whatever you're picturing in your head. We then cut to the DJ gang flying down from a plane to meet up with Johnny Trash, whilst this movie's version of Cry Little Sister plays in the background, which is better than the second movie's version, but still nowhere near as good as the original. But the vampires only just arriving in this town means that they have nothing to do with all of the missing posters. So why are there so many people going missing already? Because they did it in the other movies, I guess? Johnny Trash then threatens the vamps into an interview, which goes about as well as you'd expect.
For all you lost boys and girls, this is going to be the biggest rave of the century. And we'll let you know where it's going to be an hour before this event, so stay tuned to this website for the deets. What do you guys have to drink in this jalopy?
You.
And now the vampires have no way of getting the information out about the location of the rave because he was in charge of that. The plot holes in this movie are crazy. Edgar tries to get Alan to help in the mission because he's still alive apparently. They just throw him back into the story like the opening where he ran away never happened. But he does bring up something quite interesting.
What about Sam?
Sam's gone. He turned, and I
I had to do what I had to do.
I guess that cancels out Michael and Star.
Which is actually kind of sad because the actor who played Sam in the first movie, Corey Haim, actually died the year that this movie came out. So they have a little moment for him, which is quite nice. It also starts a trend throughout this film where they just throw in clips from the first movie as flashbacks in order to pan out the runtime. And it still didn't manage to reach feature length. We then meet the new crew, which consists of an actor, Lars von Getz, who is the worst person ever.
That creepy guy's looking at me. Oh, gross.
And his cameraman Klaus. They really aren't important to the story at all, but they're here now. Edgar gets back to his car and finds a mysterious book on his passenger seat. And this book is actually one of the first ever vampire hunting books ever written, left there by Alan, who is a vampire. So I have no idea how he was able to get it into the car during the middle of the day, but like I said, this plot is basically the Bible, it's so holy. Edgar then gives this book to Zoe so she can try and find any useful information and clues about what the vampires are up to. But he doesn't tell her why, because it's too dangerous.
Do you want to tell me why?
Not really. Could put your life in danger.
And then she is immediately attacked. Another fight that the vampires could easily win later, and we see another issue with this movie. They established in the first movie, and followed the lore of that in the second movie, that whenever a vampire dies, they die in a different way. But in this one, they just Voldemort Thanos snap out of existence, and that's it. It's boring as fuck. Remember in the first movie where that one guy got melted down into a skeleton by holy water? Yeah, we don't get any cool stuff like that in this movie. But Zoe finds out through the book that this Friday, which is the night where the rave is taking place, is actually a blood moon, which is perfect for any kind of vampiric sacrifice. And we learn more about why that's so important later on. And of course they assume that they're gonna sacrifice Peter at this rave. Oh no, not Peter! I love the fact that he hasn't had a single line this entire movie. So they set out to find the vampire lair, which, as we know,
Bloodsuckers have a tendency to look for a place that's got a history of suffering and death. You know of a place like that here?
There's an old slaughterhouse on San Cazador Island.
Slaughterhouse? Perfect.
oh well, that's perfectly convenient. Why the fuck would you ever build a slaughterhouse on an island? The logistics of that is just as nightmarish as the vampires themselves. Edgar and Zoe then go to visit the congressman that they saved at the beginning of the movie, because he's become a genius vampire killing weapons designer and maker apparently. Somehow. They get all kitted out with vampire killing gadgets and gizmos, including a modified holy water grenade launcher. When wouldn't a normal grenade be enough? Can explosions kill vampires? How would they ever be able to bite you if you just blow off their arms and legs? But my favorite of the weapons here has to be the stake launching minigun.
Now that's what I call a stakeout.
Even though in the second movie they said that anything that pierces a vampire's heart will kill it, it doesn't even have to be sharp, meaning that normal bullets would work to kill these vampires, and there's no reason to modify a minigun to fire wooden stakes. How would that even work? But whatever, they're finally at the island and they're about to launch their super stealthy rescue mission for Peter. And the vampires are way too busy doing weird body licking stuff and eating virgins, so like normal vampire stuff. We also find out that Lars doesn't believe that vampires are real, so he's just having fun with it.
Using my tracking ability, we've located the nest of the vampires deep within this abandoned slaughterhouse. It's also haunted by cannibal pirates. It's built on an ancient Indian burial ground where they used to burn witches.
They also find Peter, so yeah, mission success, they did it.
Turn around, let's go. What? It's too early to find him. We gotta find him at the end of the episode. I haven't even had the chance to put the beat down on any goths yet.
But he's right here.
Dude, turn around. Sorry, Peter. Let's go.
In his defense, he doesn't think that any of this is real, but it's still a massive piece of shit. And you can imagine what happens to massive pieces of shit in vampire movies. And that is by far the best death in this entire movie. I mean, not the vampire death, obviously. That was lame as fuck. But pulling a Kalimar Shaktive on him is just crazy, and it's exactly what this movie needed. I sure hope that the rest of the action in this movie is just as entertaining. It isn't. Like, at all. The two lady vampires decided to take a quick break from licking each other to ambush Edgar and Zoe. And I really don't understand how Edgar hasn't been killed yet, because he's terrible at fighting vampires. Zoe kills one of the vampires pretty much by accident, and then we get the greatest slow motion scene since Karate Girl. Okay, now I'll show you the actual clip. And just like that, the holy water grenade launcher does absolutely nothing except be a huge disappointment. Like, we never see it again after that, and just imagine how much more effective that would have been if they were actual grenades. But that vampire got away, even though it could have very easily killed them, but whatever, and they're forced to retreat in order to treat Edgar's wounds. It's really weird how this world-class expert vampire hunter has been significantly less effective at killing vampires than a cameraman and someone who works in a comic book shop. But this is pretty much just an excuse to get all the characters to launch an attack at night when the rave and everything is actually happening and the vampires are awake. And the party is bumping, it's in full effect. Everybody's absolutely loving the thirst, and it's sacrifice time, which is honestly my personal favorite part of any night out. So Edgar tries to sneak up and take out DJ X with a resin grenade, which was showcased earlier as having the incredible ability of breaking a motorcycle. So you know it's dangerous. Not like it matters, because he drops it into some mystery liquid immediately. How can you be this bad at the one thing you do? But to be fair, he does manage to actually do something.
That is exactly how I'm going to break your neck.
Vinyl still shreds.
So now it's the big battle between Edgar and DJ X with hundreds of new vampires, which turned immediately, even though that goes against everything about how this universe works, that are constantly trying to break down the fence and kill everyone. And DJ X says this:
When it comes to killing, I prefer more traditional methods, like impalement.
Did you not just see what he literally just did to your friend? Is that not impalement? The first object mentioned on the definition of impalement is literally a stake. You're hundreds of years old and you don't even know what classifies as your favorite form of killing. Or is that just meant to be a reference to Dracula and Vlad the Impaler? Because if it is, that's stupid. But just as Edgar is about to die, because of course he is, he's terrible, Alan arrives to help him fight. So now it's a 2v1 and they're still pretty much getting destroyed. But Zoe manages to find the resin grenade, throws it to Edgar, and they kill DJ X. And that's it. The God of Vampires is dead, and that's the end of the franchise. Or is it? Because first we have some brother on sister action.
Ew.
Buckets of ew.
Edgar, something's wrong.
Yeah, I'd say.
And before you guys go crazy, there is a reason for this.
You're the alpha.
Oh, I bet you did not see that coming.
Yeah, Peter has actually been the god of vampires since before 1031 AD. DJ X and his crew wanted to sacrifice him during the blood moon so then he would become the god of all vampires. And British lady whose name I've forgotten helped him under the promise of being turned into a vampire herself, which goes exactly how literally everybody would expect it to.
I just don't want to grow old. Sorry.
You won't.
And now we get the stupidest reveal of the movie.
Especially since I owe you a debt for killing X.
Why didn't you just kill him yourself?
A father can't murder his own children. That would be in bad taste. That's where you come in.
Keep the population down to a manageable size. Plenty of blood to drink.
Peter wants to change Edgar into a vampire in order to effectively make Edgar an immortal vampire killing machine. DJ X and his crew's plan has created a lot of new vampires, and there just isn't enough food to go around for them all. And Peter doesn't want to do it himself because
A father can't murder his own children. That would be in bad taste.
killing your own children is in bad taste. But creating a super weapon for the express purpose of killing your children is totally fine. And making these two actual brothers fight to the death, that's not in bad taste. So they fight for a bit, and are you ready to see the lamest way to kill a vampire god in the history of cinema?
Inquisitor Spiritus Pestilens.
I mean, okay, I guess it's smart, but is that all it takes to create vampire-killing holy water? And I'm gonna try and strangle myself in the same way and see if I can speak any Latin. They always do that in movies, where people are able to talk perfectly fine whilst being choked the fuck out. It's impossible, unless you've got a Frank neck.
Whoa! What the hell's going on over here?
Oh, Frank's trying to kill himself.
Oh my God, is he all right? Frank, are you all right?
Don't try to stop me.
Oh my God.
But they did it. All vampire kind is gone from the face of the earth. Just like that. But what would this movie be without one more twist? And if you were able to guess this twist, then you're a genius.
Did you know that lycanthrope or female werewolves, she-wolves, they can turn anytime they want to. They have complete control. They can do it in the middle of the day.
Now that's an interesting theory.
Zoe was a fucking she-wolf this entire time, with the ability to turn into her wolf form at will. That would have been so useful during this situation, or this situation, or this situation. They tried to spin this vampire franchise into a werewolf direction and hunting down other mythical creatures. Imagine a Lost Boys and the Creature of the Black Lagoon crossover movie. That's what they wanted to do, and I would have watched the fuck out of that. This film had a budget of $4.4 million and didn't go to box office, but apparently made almost $3 million in US domestic DVD sales, so it flopped. Obviously it flopped. There was no other possible outcome. But in saying that, please make another one, Warner Bros. And I don't mean just make a remake of the first one, which they probably will do at some point. In this stream of non-stop remakes and sequels from Hollywood, it's only a matter of time before they get round to remaking Lost Boys or The Goonies. They'll probably make The Goonies as a series, and it will be terrible. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. We're right on the doorstep of 1,000 subscribers, and it really does mean a lot to me. And if you do subscribe, then I will try and get Corey Feldman to give me an interview. Well, I might try and do that anyway, but it'll be much easier with a bigger following. Have a great day.